Now regarding the president rule or regarding the emergency in a state, okay. See, you have to solve that question also. So after this discussion, we will see that the last few, the 2 questions been asked from this particular module. Okay, we'll see that. Okay. Now we'll read it line by line. Okay. If the president is satisfied, this word is very important. Okay. This is different. Okay. Now forget about national emergency. Come to state emergency or president rule. Okay. Try to understand that this is affecting one particular state only. National emergency is affecting the entire country. When we say president rule, president is going to rule one particular state. When we say emergency state, emergency is only applicable to that particular state only. So we are talking about emergency being applied in a state, and that is permissible because it is mentioned in the constitution under article 356. Okay. So the term we have to be very clear, if the president, so keyword is satisfied on the receipt of a report of the governor of a state. Try to understand that every state is having a governor. Every state is having a governor. What is the specialty of a governor? He is appointed by the union government. He is not elected. Chief minister is elected. Governor is appointed by the center. The governor can be easily removed by the center. Okay, so if the president is satisfied on the report of the governor of a state or otherwise, this is another important thing. 2 words are there. The president's satisfaction is based on 2 factors. 1, on the report of a governor. Without the report of the governor also the president can proclaim state emergency. So that is or otherwise. So normally it is that based on the report of the governor because he is the person who is there in the state. Or otherwise also the president can proclaim. In both the cases, president rule have been proclaimed. That a situation has arises in which the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. This is very, very, very important. To declare a state emergency, this condition is very important, that a situation has arises, the state government cannot be carried on in accordance. See, the state government cannot carry in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. So it says that in a particular state, the constitutional principle is finding it difficult to be implemented. Okay. So a particular state government cannot be carried on according to the provisions of the constitution. Only based on, see, so the primary importance has been given to constitution. What is the reason it is saying that? The state government cannot be carried on according to the provisions of the constitution. Only on that ground, the president under article 356, don't get confused, the article will promulgate or proclaim and will say that, okay, he is assuming to himself or any other function, okay. So he will assume, the president will proclaim that he is taking over all or any of the functions of the state government. Okay, so the president will proclaim that I am going to take over all the functions of the state government or some of the functions of the state. And also it will say that the president will take over all or any of the function, not only the function, the powers also. So this can be done by the president only if he is satisfied that the state government cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. Then, so this is regarding the state government. Now coming to the state legislature. The president can also declare that the power of the legislature of that particular state shall be exercised by the parliament. If the state emergency is in force or if the president proclaim president rule or state emergency, then the president can say that the parliament can exercise the power of the state, means what all the state legislature can do can be done by the union parliament. This is in relation to the legislative making power, law making power. But so if the president rule is there on a particular state, the president can take over the executive function, can take over the legislative function, but not the judicial function. During president rule, judiciary will be, say, almost every state is having an high court. Now, all the big states is having an high court. Only for few states there is a common high court is there. Okay, so every state is associated with a high court. Okay, so it clearly says that whatever happens, the president cannot take over the powers vested in the high court of that particular state. So no judicial function, only executive function and legislative function. Now, to further regarding Article 357 says that, the next article says that, okay, it is giving more clarity. It shall be competent, under Article 357 says that it shall be competent on the Parliament. So the Parliament can confer on the President the power of the legislature of the state to make laws for the state. See, try to understand. The law making power is with the legislature. Law making power, who can make law? Legislature. So for the state law, state legislature is there. Now, during the state emergency or president rule, what happened? Parliament can exercise the power of state legislature. So Article 357 says that this power to make law can be conferred, to make law for the state, can be conferred to whom? To the president. By whom? By the Parliament. So the Parliament is competent to give the president the power of what? The power of the legislature of the state. So what is the power of the legislature of the state? So try to understand. We are talking about state legislature only. Who is being affected? We are talking about a state. We already clearly discussed about what will happen to the state executive. Now regarding the state legislature, that's why two articles is saying two different things, but coming to the same point. Article 356 says that the president, normally the state legislature is having power. What is the power of the state legislature? To make state law, not law, to make state law. Now, since that particular state is under president rule, the power to make law has been affected by the state legislature. So there are two ways it can do. See, it is showing both, that either the Parliament will do it or the president can do it through two different articles. Article 356 says that since the president have declared president rule, the president can confer the power of the legislature to the Parliament. Similarly, Article 357 says that, try to understand, Parliament is also a very important body. Parliament has the power to confer on the president to make laws for the state. Two different angles, but coming to the same point only. Okay. Now, so also you be very clear, okay. Who proclaim the state emergency? The president. If he is satisfied that the state government cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. That is a very, very important point. Now, be very clear, the president have proclaimed it, but the Parliament has the power to, enjoys the power to proclaim or revoke an emergency in the state. Okay, once the president proclaimed the emergency, it has to be continued, no? So to continuance of the emergency, whose approval is required? Parliamentary approval is required. Similarly, the Parliament also have the power to revoke that state emergency. So here you have to make a comparison between the parliamentary power to revoke the national emergency and state emergency, the time period, how long it will be valid also. Okay, we'll see that. Okay. Now, very interesting, there's a difference. All the proclamation made under Article 356, who have made the proclamation? President only. Okay. all the proclamation made under Article 356, other than revoking emergency. Revoking emergency. So all the proclamations under Article 356 shall be placed before Parliament. Shall be placed before Parliament for approval and shall cease to be in force at the expiry of 2 months. In the case of national emergency, how much it was? So make a comparison. It was 1 month. Now in the case of state emergency, it is. Now here the reason for state emergency is that the state government cannot function according to the provisions of the constitution. This is the provisions of the constitution. Is the reason they are saying. Okay, so understand the president rule is there in a particular state and the parliament have not approved within 2 months. If the parliament have not approved within 2 months, what will happen? It will cease to operate. But in the case of national emergency, it is 1 month. So that's a comparison. Okay, from the date unless so if the parliament approves it within 2 months, it will continue. Otherwise, it will cease to operate. Okay, cease to be in force. Then, once approved by the parliament, it shall be in force for a period of 6 months only. So it's same. Once approved by the parliament, it will be in force for the period of 6 months. From when? From the date of proclamation of when the president proclaimed. So within 2 months it has to approve, and once it is approved, that 6 months will be, how it will be taken? From the proclamation time. No. That's from the date of proclamation of the emergency in the state. Very, very important. It says that the parliament, once it is approved, it will be valid for 6 months. It's also saying that it can be further extended for 6 more months. See, unlike national emergency n number of times, 6 months, n number of times. But in the case of state emergency, it is saying that 2 times, 6 months, further 6 months. So after 1 year, so 2 times means 6 months. If the parliament have to extend the president rule, then it has to fulfill certain criteria. So this is not there in the case of national emergency. So it says that if the state emergency have to be extended beyond 1 year, then 2 conditions the parliament have to ensure that 2 conditions are to be satisfied, have to be fulfilled. First condition is that to extend the state emergency beyond 1 year, the first condition is that there has to be national emergency in India or in the area where that state is there. In whole or part of the state where, so I told you national emergency can be to whole of India or part of in India. So when we say part of in the India and that state belongs to that part, then it can be extended. Okay. So the first criteria to extend beyond 1 year is national emergency has to be in force. National emergency has to be in force and it is affecting that particular state. Second criteria is that election commission have to certify. If it is not national emergency, then if the president rule to continue, the election commission have to certify that under the current condition, it is difficult for the election commission to conduct a general election to that particular state. So, in any of these 2 conditions have to be fulfilled to extend the president rule beyond 1 year. 1, national emergency has to be in force, or the election commission have to certify to the parliament saying that it is difficult to conduct general election to that particular state. Other than these 2 conditions, state emergency cannot be extended beyond 1 year. Okay. Again, if these 2 conditions is fulfilled, if any of these conditions is fulfilled, again there is a limitation. Maximum is the parliament not extend not more than 1 plus 2 year. What is this 1 plus 2 year? 1 year is that 6 months extension. Then additionally for 2 more year, in any of these criteria is there, additionally 2 more year can be added. So the maximum period a state will be under president rule or state will be in a emergency, state emergency is 3 year. 1 plus 2 years. Okay. Be very clear. Maximum 3 year, but 6 months extension. See, many states other than happens, try to understand that whenever there is a center state friction happens, president rule will be proclaimed. Okay. Effect of president rule. Okay. This is very, very important. From here only, the 2 questions have been asked. From the effect of president rule only, the prelims 2 questions have been asked. Okay. So what is the effect when the president declare a state emergency? What will be the effect? We'll deal it one by one. Okay. So only that particular state is affected. Okay. If the president rule is imposed, the relationship between the sender and only that state is affected, not other states. What will be happen? This is very, very important. Okay. Council of Ministers of that particular state, the state ministers, including the chief minister, is dismissed. Okay. When president rule or state emergency is proclaimed, what will happen? The state council of minister headed by the chief minister, okay, it is dismissed. The council of minister of that particular state is dismissed. Okay. And president assume to himself all the executive functions and the powers of the governor. Okay. So once the president rule is imposed, what will happen to the state executive? State executive, that is state government, will be dismissed and all the powers of the state government will be taken over by the president. So clear with the executive. So what happened to the state government? It is dismissed. Now we will look into the state legislature. Regarding the state legislative assembly. State legislative assemblies, there are 2 options there. It is suspended or dissolved. You know the meaning of suspended or dissolved. Suspended means it can be revived anytime. Suspended means it will say that currently it will not function, but after some time it will be revived. All the members will continue as members. Dissolving means it is, this means now election, now for the assembly to, election has to be conducted once it is dissolved. For it, dissolution results in election. Suspension does not result in election. It can be revived back. Okay. So whatever happens, so whether it is suspension or dismissal, what will happen to the state legislature? It will become dysfunctional. Okay. Now, so since the state legislature is dysfunctional, try to understand regarding this. Normally be very clear. Okay. Very rarely only it is dismissed. State legislature dissolved. Okay. State cabinet or state government, state council of minister, surely it is dismissed. State legislature normally is suspended. Dissolution happens only in rare cases. Once it is approved by the parliament, only it will happen. That it will take time. There are certain formalities are there regarding usage of dissolution of state legislative assembly. Okay. There is a cases there, we'll discuss that. Okay. Now, since the state legislature is dysfunctional, so the power of the state legislature have to be given to someone. Whom it will be given? It is to the parliament. Okay. So the legislative power of the state legislature is exercised by the parliament or by the president, as the case may be. So the legislative power of the state legislature is exercised by the parliament or by the president, as the case may be. So we have discussed what is the effect on the executive, what is the effect on the legislature. Regarding the financial relations and fundamental rights, there is no effect. Unlike national emergency. What do we discuss regarding national emergency? There is an effect on financial relation. There is an effect on fundamental rights. So if there is state emergency, there is no problem with the fundamental rights. The people in that state will not be affected. Their fundamental rights will not be affected. Their financial, center state financial relation will not be affected. What will be affected is regarding the state executive as well as state legislature. Now, the 2018 question, okay. See, which year? First one, the question was asked in the year 2018, okay. Read the question carefully, okay. If the President of India exercises power as provided under Article 356. What is Article 356? State emergency of the Constitution in respect of a particular state. Then, 4 choices are there. You have to read it carefully. The assembly of the state is automatically dissolved. Can we say it correct? You cannot say. You cannot say. It is that word is automatically dissolved is there. You cannot say it, okay? Second one. The power of the legislature of that state shall be exercisable by or under the authority of the parliament. That can be corrected. Okay, I will told it can be either by the parliament or the president. So it is not a wrong statement. It is not a wrong statement. First statement is wrong. It cannot be automatically dissolved. Normally it is suspended only. And dissolution requires some time. Anyway, it is not automatically dissolved. So that's why it is wrong. Second statement, it is correct. But we have to read other 2 statements. Article 19 is suspended in that state. We already cleared. See, this is the provision regarding national emergency, Article 352. This is correct in the case of national emergency. And we already discussed that center-state financial relation, fundamental rights is not affected by, so A is 100% wrong, C is 100% wrong, B is correct, but we have to deal with D. The president can make laws relating to that state. Now comes the doubt. Now, what we have studied, there are 2 options. When the state emergency is there, there can be 2 options regarding the legislative power of that. So the power of the state legislature shall be exercised either by the parliament or the president, as the case may be. Now we have to be very clear, okay. Now here, the problem with these that it is saying that the president can make laws. This is very key word. Making law, always be very clear. Law making is always vested with the legislative body. President can't make law. What president? See, president can enjoy the power. Ordinance cannot be said as a law, even though it is equivalent to. Ordinance power is equivalent to. We say that, okay, again, ordinance have to be approved within a time period only. It has the power of a law. It is, but they are all exceptional cases. Okay, it is having the power. Now we are saying that. That's why I'm telling that there are 2 choices are there. Now you have to use your knowledge and you have to take the best answer. See, there will be only one best answer will be there. See, you cannot say D is fully wrong. Now you have to find the best answer among the B or D. Are you getting it? Okay. Now what is B? The power of the legislature of that state. The power of the legislature of that state shall be exercisable by or under the authority of the parliament. So B is much more correct than D. So you have to go for, so in that cases, that's why I'm telling that you have to take the best answer. The best answer is B only. So we have to go for B. Now, see 2017 question is a very tricky question. It's a simple question. If it was not, this was not there. It was a simple question, but what UPSC have done? A trap was set for you. Read the question. Which of the following are not necessarily the consequence of the proclamation of the president rule in a state? Now we'll read first statement. Dissolution of the state legislative assembly. I told, see, it's almost similar question, okay. state, you cannot say always. So what is the statement here? Dissolution of the state legislature. You cannot say. So it's not a direct consequence. Dissolution of the state legislative assembly is not a direct consequence. What they are asking? Not necessarily. Okay. So this is not. So this is not. So one has to be there. Now what is 2? Removal of the that is confirmed. It's a consequence. That is 100% confirmed. That if the president rule is there, council of ministers of that state will be removed. Okay. So 2 is a direct consequence. So they are asking for not a direct consequence. So 2 should not be there. If you know that 2 is not there, you got your answer. If you know that 2 should not be there, you can eliminate A, you can eliminate C, you can eliminate D, and you will get your answer. What I am trying to say is that, okay, see the way you are sitting now and on your prelims day you are sitting will be different. Okay? That time you will not see the word not also. You will be happy. Oh, question, very easy question. You will not see this not means what will happen? Things will change. Okay, so that's why I'm telling, be very careful. Okay. So, see, regarding the local bodies like this municipality, panchayat is nowhere affected. It will be there. So, it's nowhere we mentioned, talked also. Okay. So, 1 and 3 is not a direct consequence. So, answer is B. But it is very easy if you do the elimination. To avoid confusion, you just apply the elimination method so that your confusion will be over.